The blade entered Kael Veyron's chest slowly, not because the executioner lacked strength, because his family wanted him to feel every inch. Cold iron scraped against bone, blood filled his throat. His knees struck the black marble floor of the ancestral hall. No one looked away. The elders watched from their golden seats. The servants smiled behind lowered heads. The young geniuses of Clan Veyron stood in a perfect circle, dressed in white ceremonial robes, as if they were witnessing a sacred offering instead of murder. At the center of them all stood Kael Veyron, Kael's elder cousin, the pride of the clan. The man who had stolen Kael's research, ruined his reputation, poisoned his father, and sold the clan's defensive formations to their enemies. Cassian held a crystal goblet filled with crimson wine. He raised it toward Kael, to the worthless fool who helped build my throne. Laughter rolled across the hall. Kael coughed blood onto the floor. His body was ruined. His cultivation veins had been torn apart. His fingers had been crushed one by one. His eyes had been burned with spirit fire until the world became a blur of red shadows. Yet his mind remained clear, terribly clear. He remembered every face, every laugh, every hand that had pushed him lower. Cassian crouched before him. His smile was gentle, almost kind. That little mind of yours was useful. Your formations were useful. Your medicine formulas were useful. Even your pathetic loyalty was useful. Cassian reached out and patted Kael's cheek. But you were never meant to stand beside me. Kael said nothing. Cassian's smile widened. You were born with a level 3 trash core. More laughter. In a clan that worships strength, you should have crawled beneath the tables and thanked us for feeding you scraps. Instead, you dared to dream. An elder struck the arm of his chair. Such arrogance deserves death. Another elder nodded. He contaminated the dignity of our bloodline. A woman in violet silk stepped forward. Celine Arkwright, Kael's former fiancée. The woman who once swore she would remain beside him even if the entire world mocked him. She now rested her hand on Cassian's shoulder. Her expression held only disgust. Kael stopped staring at us like a wounded beast. Her voice was soft. Cruelty sounded more beautiful when spoken softly. You should be grateful. Cassian gave meaning to your useless life. Kael looked at her. Through the haze of blood and blindness, he saw the outline of the jade pendant hanging from her neck. His mother's pendant. He had given it to Celine on the night of their engagement. She had cried in his arms. She had promised to protect it until death. Now she wore it while standing beside his murderer. Celine noticed his gaze. She touched the pendant and laughed. This? She pulled it from her neck, then dropped it onto the floor. Her heel came down. The jade shattered. Something inside Kael became silent. Not broken, silence was far more dangerous than breaking. Cassian rose. The Western armies arrive tomorrow. Once the clan submits to them, I will become patriarch. Celine will become my wife. Your inventions will become my legacy. He spread his arms toward the elders, and history will forget you ever existed. The executioner twisted the blade. Kael's body convulsed. The hall erupted in applause. Pain swallowed the world, but Kael did not scream. He smiled. It was a small smile, thin, calm. Cassian's applause stopped. For the first time, uncertainty flickered across his face. Why are you smiling? Kael tasted iron, because he finally understood. He had spent his first life believing intelligence could compensate for weakness. He had believed loyalty could melt cold hearts. He had believed blood relatives would remember kindness. He had believed love could survive temptation. He had been wrong. Intelligence without power became property. Loyalty without suspicion became a leash. Kindness offered to wolves became permission to feast. And love? Love was merely a prettier word for leverage. Kael lifted his ruined face. His voice was barely a whisper. Cassian leaned closer. What? Kael's smile deepened. I will not make you suffer, Cassian blinked. Kael continued. I will make you beg for suffering. The blade pierced his heart. Darkness fell. Then came the sound of rain. Kael opened his eyes. A cracked wooden ceiling hung above him. Water dripped through a hole and struck his cheek. The air smelled of damp straw, cheap medicine, and old blood. His body felt light, weak. Whole, he sat up. A sharp ache pulsed behind his eyes. Memories crashed into him, not memories from his final days. Older memories. He knew this room. It was the abandoned servant house behind the Eastern training yard. He had lived here after the clan expelled him from the main estate. He looked down at his hands. No crushed fingers, no execution scars. His skin was young. He touched his chest. No blade wound. Outside, thunder rolled across the night. Kael turned toward a broken mirror. A pale boy stared back at him. Black hair, hollow cheeks, a bruise along his jaw. He was 16 again. The night before the clan awakening ceremony. The night before his level 3 core, would be exposed before the entire Veyron bloodline. The night before humiliation became the foundation of his life, Kael stared at his reflection. Then he laughed. The sound was low, without joy, without madness. It was the laugh of a prisoner who had awakened outside his cage while the jailer still slept. So this is mercy. He stood. His legs nearly collapsed. This body was painfully weak, malnourished, bruised from another beating by the younger clan members. Its meridians were narrow. Its spirit channels were clogged. Its core had not yet awakened. Everything was exactly as he remembered. And that meant every hidden treasure still waited beneath the same stones. Every enemy still believed him harmless. Every disaster still marched toward the clan. The Western armies had not yet formed. Cassian had not yet gained the elders' trust. Selene had not yet betrayed him. His father was still alive, barely. Kael crossed the room and poured water into a cracked bowl. He studied his reflection in the trembling surface. Rage should have consumed him. It did not. Heat made men careless. Kael had died careless. He would not repeat the mistake. He closed his eyes and examined his body using a breathing method he had created in his previous life. The result was pathetic. His innate core was small, clouded. Level 3. The lowest awakened rank recognized by the clan. Children born with such cores were usually sent to mines, kitchens, or breeding branches. They were not trained, they were used. Kael opened his eyes. Trash. That word had followed him through his entire life. He had spent years trying to strengthen his core. He had consumed rare herbs, studied forbidden methods, cut new channels into his own flesh. Nothing worked. His core refused to grow. Only at the end of his previous life had he discovered the truth. His core was never weak. It was sealed. There were layers wrapped around it. Ancient layers. Not to suppress its power, to contain it. Kael removed a loose floorboard. Beneath it rested a rusted needle, a strip of cloth, and a small clay bottle. He poured the bottle's contents into the bowl. The water turned black. In his previous life, he had believed the bottle contained medicine left by his father. He had drunk it every night. It was poison, a slow meridian poison, delivered by the servant who reported to Cassian's mother. Kael dipped the needle into the poisoned water, then pushed it beneath his thumbnail. Pain flashed up his arm. He did not flinch. He guided the poison into a narrow channel near his wrist. The technique looked suicidal. For an ordinary cultivator it was. Kael was not ordinary. His knowledge had surpassed the greatest alchemists in the capital before his death. He understood poison more intimately than physicians understood medicine. He used the toxin as a blade. It sliced through the blockage inside his first meridian. A muffled crack echoed through his body. Black blood spilled from his nose. Kael wiped it away. He paused. No, he would use no numbers in his mind. Numbers could make progress feel distant. He would think only in completed steps. One broken seal was not progress. It was a corpse removed from his road. He drove the needle into another point, then another. Sweat soaked his clothes. His heartbeat became violent. His vision dimmed. The poison entered his lungs. His breathing stopped. For several moments, his body sat motionless in the darkness. Then Kael slammed his palm against his chest. A stream of black liquid burst from his mouth. Air tore back into his lungs. He inhaled. The room changed. The rain became louder. He could hear every drop striking every tile. He could smell wet soil beyond the wall. He could sense the weak spirit energy drifting through the night. At the center of his chest, something moved, a tiny pulse, then another. His dormant core awakened before the ceremony. Kael lowered his gaze. A faint gray light appeared beneath his skin. Dull. Worthless. Exactly what the clan's awakening crystal would reveal. But behind that gray light, hidden beneath the first seal, he felt something enormous. Something hungry. A presence as deep as an ocean trench, as cold as the space between stars. Then a voice entered his mind. It did not sound human. It sounded like countless metal doors opening beneath the earth. Cognitive pattern recognized. Kael remained still. Previous soul imprint detected. The cracked walls trembled. Dust fell from the ceiling. Forbidden inheritance condition fulfilled. A dark symbol appeared before him. It floated in the air like a wound cut into reality. Kael had never seen it before. Yet some part of his soul understood it. The symbol entered his forehead. Agony exploded through his skull. Images flooded his mind. Worlds collapsing, kings kneeling, beasts large enough to swallow mountains. Libraries carved inside dead gods. Weapons forged from the remains of fallen civilizations. At the center of it all stood an endless black tower. Each floor contained knowledge. Each chamber contained power. Each gate demanded a price. The voice returned. Infinite Dominion Archive awakened. Kael's breathing slowed. A system. A legacy. A treasury built from the knowledge of worlds beyond his own. In his previous life, he would have wept. He would have thanked the heavens. He would have dreamed of becoming a hero. Now he only asked one question. What does it cost? The voice answered. Understanding. Kael's eyes narrowed. Explain. Anything fully understood may be dismantled. The dark symbol expanded. Anything dismantled may be reconstructed. The air around Kael's hand twisted. The rusted needle rose from the floor. Lines of light spread across its surface. Its material, its structure, its age. Every detail entered Kael's mind. He understood the needle. Completely, the metal collapsed into black dust. The dust spun, compressed. A new needle fell into Kael's palm. Sharper, perfectly balanced. Kael waste. No impurities. No forging marks. He turned toward the cracked clay bowl. The archive analyzed it. He understood its composition. He dismantled it, reconstructed it. The bowl became a thin ceramic blade. Its edge cut through the wooden table without resistance. Kael looked at the weapon, then at his own reflection. A level 3 core limited how much spirit energy he could store. But the archive did not strengthen his core. It made knowledge tangible. Anything he understood could become a weapon. Medicine, poison, cultivation arts, bloodlines, even living bodies. A cold smile appeared on his face. Cassian had stolen his inventions because Kael lacked the strength to protect them. This time, stealing from him would be impossible. Every secret would live inside his mind. Every object could be destroyed and reborn through his hands. Every weakness could be studied. Every enemy could be dismantled. Footsteps sounded outside. Several people approached through the rain. Kael recognized the voices. Young clan disciples, Cassian's followers. They had come to drag him toward the awakening hall early. In his previous life, they beat him in the mud before the ceremony. They wanted his face swollen when he stood before the clan. They wanted the crowd laughing before the crystal even revealed his rank. The door burst open. A broad young man stepped inside. Darius Veyron. His smile was already prepared. Wake up, trash. Two others entered behind him. One carried a rope. The other held a wooden club. Darius looked around the room. Still living like an animal? Kael lowered his head. His shoulders trembled. The three boys laughed. They mistook restraint for fear. Darius grabbed Kael by the hair. Cassian said we should make you presentable. He slammed Kael's face toward the table. Kael moved half a step. Darius's hand caught empty air. His balance broke. Kael could have driven the ceramic blade through his throat. He did not. Dead enemies became warnings. Living enemies became tools. Kael stumbled backward and allowed fear to cover his face. I am sorry, Darius froze, then laughed harder. You are sorry? Kael nodded. His eyes remained lowered, behind them. His mind measured everything. Darius's posture, his breathing, the old injury in his left knee, the hidden pouch at his waist, the trace of blue powder beneath his fingernails, moonroot dust. A banned stimulant used before awakening ceremonies. Darius planned to cheat. Interesting. Kael let his voice shake. Darius slapped him. The blow split Kael's lip. Kael fell to the floor. The others cheered. Look at him. Not even awakened and already crawling. Level 3 trash should know his place. Kael pressed his hand against the floor. The archive spread through the wood. He understood the rotten boards, the weakened beams, the nails holding them together. He dismantled a single nail beneath Darius's foot. The floor cracked. Darius stumbled. His knee twisted. He screamed and collapsed. The others stared in shock. Kael crawled backward. His expression became terrified. Darius clutched his knee. You! Kael shook his head quickly. I did nothing. He had done almost nothing. That was the beauty of it. A push was suspicious. A broken floor was misfortune. Darius raised the club, but thunder shook the house. A bell rang from the clan estate. The summoning bell. The awakening ceremony would begin soon. One of the boys grabbed Darius. We have to go. Darius spat at Kael. Kael wiped the spit from his cheek. No, his voice was quiet. It is not. They dragged Darius outside. Kael remained on the floor until their footsteps vanished. Then he stood. The fear disappeared from his face. He picked up the ceramic blade and turned it back into a bowl. The archive consumed almost no spirit energy when reconstructing simple matter. More complex objects would require greater understanding and a stronger body. Living bodies would be harder, but not impossible. Kael walked into the rain. The ancestral hall glowed beyond the eastern courtyard. Inside, the entire clan waited to witness his humiliation. Cassian would stand near the awakening crystal. Celine would offer Kael a false smile. The elders would whisper about removing him from the family register. His father would try to defend him. And Kael would awaken a level 3 gray core before them all. Just as fate expected, he would not reveal the archive. He would not expose the poison. He would not accuse Cassian. He would bow. He would endure. He would let them laugh. Because the clan's strongest techniques were stored beneath the ancestral hall. Because a sealed ruin would open in the northern mountains within several months. Because Cassian would soon discover a treasure map Kael had found in his previous life. And because that treasure map led not to an inheritance, but to a prison. In his first life, Kael had warned him. This time he would help him open it. Kael stepped through the estate gates. Clan members turned toward him. Disgust spread across their faces. Someone laughed at his bruises. Someone called him trash. Someone wondered aloud whether the awakening crystal would reject him completely. Kael heard every word. He memorized every voice. At the far end of the courtyard, Cassian stood beneath a silk canopy, handsome, beloved. Celine stood beside him. When she saw Kael, she smiled with practiced warmth. "Kael, you came." He looked at them. At the murderers who did not yet know they had already died. Then he lowered his head and gave them the same timid smile they remembered. Inside his chest, the Infinite Dominion Archive opened its first gate. Behind that gate waited enough knowledge to overturn the strongest clan in the Empire. Kael walked toward the awakening crystal, calm, obedient, harmless. He'd returned from hell with empty hands. That was fine. Soon, everything they owned would belong to him. Their treasures, their techniques, their authority, their pride, their lives. He would take them apart carefully. He would rebuild the clan in his image. And when Cassian finally crawled beneath his feet, choking on regret, Kael would remind him of the lesson written in blood across 2 lifetimes. Trash was only the name fools gave to power they were too blind to understand. The awakening crystal stood taller than a man. Its surface was clear, perfect, cold. Every young member of Clan Veyron would place a hand against it and reveal the rank of their core before the elders. Strength decided everything: inheritance, marriage, food, even the right to speak. Kael stepped into the ancestral courtyard beneath hundreds of staring eyes. The rain had stopped. Water dripped from the black rooftops. Clan banners snapped in the morning wind. At the center of the courtyard, the younger generation stood in ordered rows, silk robes, polished weapons, proud faces. They looked at Kael's patched clothes and bruised jaw as though filth had wandered into a sacred temple. A girl laughed openly. Did he sleep in the stables? No. Even the horses live better. Perhaps the crystal will show a level beneath trash. Their laughter spread. Kael lowered his gaze. He made his shoulders small. He allowed his hands to tremble. Across the courtyard, Cassian watched him carefully. Kael noticed the slight narrowing of his eyes. Cassian expected anger, perhaps defiance. Instead, he saw surrender. Good. Suspicion died fastest when fed with pity. An elder struck the ceremonial gong. The sound rolled through the estate. The awakening began. One disciple after another approached the crystal. A red core earned applause. A blue core earned praise. A silver core made the elders rise from their seats. Parents wept. Servants rushed forward with robes and gifts. The entire clan became a theater of worship. Then Darius limped toward the platform. His injured knee had swollen beneath his robes. He hid the pain poorly. Kael saw the moonroot stimulant already working through his veins. His pulse was too fast. His pupils were too wide. His skin glistened with unnatural heat. Darius pressed his palm against the crystal. Gray light flickered. Then blue, then purple. The courtyard erupted. A high awakening. A future commander. Darius raised his chin and turned toward Kael. His grin was vicious. The moonroot had forced his core to appear stronger. It had also damaged the core's outer membrane. The injury would remain hidden for several weeks. Then the membrane would tear. Darius would lose control of his spirit energy. Every advancement would become agony. Eventually, his core would collapse. In his previous life, Kael had discovered the cause and secretly developed a cure. He had given that cure to Darius without demanding payment. Darius later broke Kael's fingers. This time, there would be no cure. Kael bowed his head as if impressed. Darius mistook it for humiliation. His grin widened. The next names were called. Celine awakened a radiant violet core. The elders praised her beauty. Her father announced that heaven itself had blessed her. Cassian stepped forward after her. The courtyard fell silent. He placed his hand on the crystal. Golden light burst across the platform. Wind tore through the banners. The crystal sang. A phantom lion appeared above Cassian's head. The elders rose together. The patriarch smiled. The crowd shouted Cassian's name. He stood beneath the golden radiance with calm satisfaction. as though the heavens had merely confirmed what he already knew. Kael studied him. The lion phantom came from the treasure Cassian had swallowed the previous winter, a fragment of ancient beast marrow, stolen from Kael's father. Cassian believed it had merged perfectly with his core. It had not. The marrow remained alive, sleeping, hungry. Within several years, it would begin consuming his blood. Kael had saved him from that fate in the previous life. He almost laughed. Every enemy in this courtyard was alive because the old Kael had been foolish enough to help them. Cassian stepped away from the crystal. His gaze found Kael. He extended one hand. Come. The gesture looked generous, brotherly. The crowd murmured in approval. Even after becoming the clan's greatest genius, Cassian still cares for that useless cousin. Such kindness, such nobility. Kael walked forward. Cassian placed a hand on his shoulder. His grip tightened. Do not be afraid, he said loudly. Whatever the crystal reveals, you are still a member of Clan Veyron. The words sounded warm. The pressure of his fingers promised violence. Kael gave him a grateful smile. A few elders nodded. Cassian looked pleased. Then he leaned closer. His voice dropped to a whisper. When it reveals nothing, kneel quickly. Do not embarrass me. Kael's smile did not change. He stepped onto the platform. The courtyard quieted. Kael pressed his palm against the crystal. Cold light entered his skin. The infinite Dominion archive stirred. For a moment, the crystal tried to see beyond the seal. A dark depth moved inside Kael's chest. The crystal trembled. A crack almost formed across its surface. Kael immediately suppressed the archive. He guided only the outermost layer of his core into the crystal. Gray light appeared, weak, thin. Barely visible, the crystal released a dull hum, then fell silent. A level 3 core, the lowest awakened rank. The courtyard exploded with laughter. Some disciples bent over, others pointed openly. One elder shook his head in disgust. Another whispered that Kael should be removed from the main bloodline. Darius laughed so hard that his injured knee nearly gave way. Celine covered her mouth. Her eyes held false sorrow. Cassian lowered his gaze as if disappointed. Only Kael's father stood from his seat. Lord Aldrin Veyron looked thinner than Kael remembered. Poison had already begun eating through his organs. Yet he stepped forward. My son has awakened, he said. That is enough. The elders turned cold. A gray-haired man named Orlan struck his cane against the floor. Enough? His voice carried across the courtyard. A level 3 core cannot lead a branch family. Aldrin's jaw tightened. He is my only son. He is a stain on your branch. The crowd grew quiet. Kael watched Elder Orlan carefully. Orlan had helped Cassian poison Aldrin. He had also approved the seizure of Kael's property after Aldrin's death. In return, Cassian promised him a place on the inner council. Kael had begged Orlan for fairness in his previous life. The elder had ordered servants to beat him out of the hall. Kael lowered his head before anyone noticed the coldness in his eyes. Cassian stepped between them. Please. His voice sounded pained. Do not quarrel because of Kael. He turned toward the elders. His core may be weak, but perhaps he can still serve the clan in another way. A perfect performance, compassion without sacrifice. Kindness that placed the knife more gently against Kael's throat. Elder Orlan nodded. Then let him surrender his place in the inner academy. A murmur ran through the crowd. Every awakened disciple was entitled to 1 year of academy training. Even those with weak cores received basic cultivation resources. For Kael, it was his final legal claim to clan support. Cassian frowned. Elder, that may be too harsh. Orlan looked at him. Would you waste medicine and instructors on a vessel that cannot hold power? Cassian hesitated. He played the role beautifully. Kael almost admired him. Celine stepped forward. Perhaps Kael could transfer his place to someone more promising. Her voice was gentle. She glanced toward a young boy standing behind Cassian, Lucan Veyron, Cassian's younger brother. Lucan had awakened a good core, but he already held a private tutor and access to the clan library. He did not need Kael's place. They wanted it because taking from Kael pleased them. Celine looked at Kael with shining eyes. Lucan could use the extra academy allocation to strengthen himself before the royal trials. The crowd immediately agreed. What a wise idea. Kael should be grateful that his place can still benefit the clan. He would only embarrass himself there. Cassian turned toward Kael. Pain filled his expression. I will not force you. The lie was so clean that Kael almost applauded. He looked around the courtyard. Every face waited for his refusal. They wanted him to cling to the academy place. They wanted him to protest. Then they could call him selfish, unfilial, jealous. The entire trap depended on resistance. Kael bowed. I surrender my academy place to Lucan. Silence fell. Cassian blinked. Celine's smile stiffened. Elder Orlan narrowed his eyes. They had prepared speeches, accusations, threats. Kael had denied them the pleasure. Lucan stepped forward quickly. You truly surrender it? Kael nodded. You are more talented than I am. The words tasted like ash. His face remained calm. Lucan laughed. At least you understand reality. A servant brought the transfer document. Kael signed it without hesitation. The moment his blood touched the parchment, the crowd cheered for Lucan. No one noticed Kael studying the seal at the bottom of the page. The academy allocation included access to a spirit pool beneath the northern wing. In his previous life, Lucan entered that pool and advanced rapidly. Several months later, the pool awakened something beneath it, an ancient parasite. Kael had discovered the infestation and warned the academy. The elders ignored him. When Lucan became infected, Kael spent an entire winter developing a cleansing formation. He saved Lucan. Lucan repaid him by testifying that Kael had poisoned the spirit pool. Kael signed the document with a steady hand. This time, Lucan could keep the pool. He could drink from it every day. Cassian placed a hand on Kael's shoulder. You made a noble choice. Kael bowed. I only wish to serve the clan. The elders praised his obedience. The disciples mocked his weakness. The ceremony moved on. By midday, Kael had lost his academy place, his training stipend, and his right to use the eastern practice grounds. Each loss was presented as a voluntary sacrifice. Each theft earned applause. Kael accepted everything. He smiled. He bowed. He thanked them. By sunset, the entire clan believed the level 3 trash had finally learned his place. That night, a servant brought Kael a bowl of cold rice and watered broth. The servant dropped it outside the door. Your meal. Kael opened the door. The servant looked at him with contempt. Lucan asked me to thank you. He received your academy medicine in advance. Kael nodded. I am glad. The servant walked away laughing. Kael carried the food inside. He did not eat it. He placed the bowl on the floor and activated the archive. The broth separated into its components. Water, salt, spoiled fat, a trace of sleeping powder. Not enough to kill. Enough to keep him unconscious until morning. Someone wanted his room searched. Kael dismantled the powder and reconstructed it into a small crystal. Then he lay beneath his blanket and slowed his breathing. Several hours passed. The door opened. 2 shadows entered. They moved quietly. One searched beneath the floorboards. The other opened Kael's chest and scattered his clothes. Kael recognized them as servants belonging to Cassian's mother. They were searching for his father's research key. In his previous life, they had found it beneath the wallstone. Kael had not known it existed. Cassian later used the key to enter Aldrin's private workshop. That was where he stole the first set of formation designs. Kael remained motionless. The servants found the loose stone. One reached inside, his fingers closed around a bronze key. There, the other smiled. Young Master Cassian was right. Kael listened to them leave. Then he opened his eyes. He had known they would come. That afternoon, he had dismantled the real key and reconstructed a copy from scrap metal. The copy looked perfect. Its teeth matched, its weight matched, its spirit imprint did not. When Cassian used it, the workshop would open. He would find exactly what Kael wanted him to find. A damaged formation manual, a half-finished map, and a letter describing a hidden inheritance beneath the northern mountains. The inheritance Cassian would soon become desperate to claim. Kael rose from the bed. He removed the real key from beneath his tongue. Then he crossed the room and pressed it against the wall. The archive analyzed the stone. Kael dismantled a narrow section without making a sound. Behind it lay an old maintenance passage. He entered and rebuilt the wall behind him. The tunnel led beneath the eastern estate. Rats moved through the darkness. Water dripped between ancient bricks. Kael walked for nearly an hour. At the end of the passage, he reached a sealed iron gate. Beyond it lay the abandoned furnace chamber. The clan had stopped using it decades ago after an explosion killed several blacksmiths. No one entered now. The air was thick with dust. Broken weapons covered the floor. Rusting armor leaned against the walls. To ordinary eyes, the chamber was a graveyard of useless metal. To Kael, it was a treasury. He touched the nearest sword. The archive opened. Structure, composition, damage, history. Every flaw became visible. Kael dismantled it. The blade collapsed into black dust. He moved to the next weapon. Then the next. Sword after sword vanished beneath his fingers. Broken spears, cracked shields, rusted chains. The archive consumed them all. Metal dust swirled around Kael like a dark storm. He separated impurities, compressed useful material, reconstructed tools, needles, wire, weights, grinding discs. Every object emerged sharper and stronger than anything the clan's current blacksmiths could forge. Then Kael began building the first cultivation chamber. He carved channels into the stone floor, placed metal needles along the walls, connected them with spirit-conducting wire. At the center, he built a seat from black iron. The design came from a theory he had developed before his death, a formation that forced weak spirit energy to circulate repeatedly instead of dispersing. The elders had laughed when he proposed it. Cassian had stolen the design after Kael perfected it. Now Kael reconstructed it from memory. The final wire clicked into place. The chamber awakened. Spirit energy entered through cracks in the floor. It moved through the needles, compressed, circulated, returned. Again. Again the air became heavy. Kael sat at the center. His level 3 core opened. The first wave of energy entered him. Pain tore through his meridians. His weak body shook. Blood ran from his nose, he continued. The formation forced the escaping energy back into his body. Nothing was wasted. His core filled. Emptied. Filled again. Each cycle stretched the sealed membrane. Each cycle strengthened his channels. Hours passed. Kael's skin split along his arms. His muscles cramped. His heartbeat stumbled. He continued. The archive observed every reaction, every damaged cell, every blocked channel. Kael adjusted the formation while sitting inside it. The pressure increased. His core screamed. A second seal cracked. Dark energy pulsed through his chest. The furnace chamber trembled. Kael opened his eyes. The gray light around him remained weak, but beneath it, the hidden ocean had grown closer. He stood, his body felt different, still thin, still unimpressive, but no longer fragile. He moved toward a stone pillar. He pressed 2 fingers against it. The archive analyzed the fault lines. Kael struck once. The pillar split from top to bottom. He looked at his hand, no swelling, no broken bones. This was only the beginning. On the floor beside him sat the sleeping powder crystal. He dismantled it, mixed it with furnace ash, reconstructed it into a black pill. The pill would suppress pain, sharpen awareness, and force the body to remain conscious under extreme stress. A crude stimulant, dangerous, useful. Kael swallowed it. Then he returned to the iron seat. The formation roared. Spirit energy flooded him again. Above the furnace chamber, Clan Veyron slept peacefully. Lucan dreamed of the academy. Darius dreamed of defeating Kael before a cheering crowd. Selene dreamed of standing beside Cassian at the royal trials. Cassian entered Aldrin's workshop using the false key. He found the damaged manual, the hidden map, the letter describing an inheritance beneath the northern mountains. His hands trembled with excitement. He believed fortune had chosen him. Deep underground, Kael felt the third seal begin to loosen. His blood boiled. His bones cracked. His smile remained calm. They had taken his academy place, his stipend, his future. He had given them all willingly. A poisoned pool waited for Lucan. A collapsing core waited for Darius. A hungry beast waited inside Cassian. And beneath the northern mountains, something far worse waited to be freed. Kael closed his eyes. The formation screamed around him. By dawn, he would possess enough strength to begin entering the clan's forbidden vaults. By the end of the month, every discarded weapon in the furnace would become part of his hidden arsenal. By the time Cassian reached the mountains, Kael would have already prepared the lock, and the key, and the grave. The forbidden vault beneath Clan Veyron had never been breached, not by thieves, not by rival clans, not even by the elders who guarded its entrance. 3 sealed doors blocked the descent. The first recognized blood. The second recognized authority. The third recognized fear. Anyone who approached without permission would awaken the ancestral execution array. Blades would emerge from the walls. Spirit fire would flood the passage. The intruder's bones would be displayed above the gate as a warning. Kael entered before dawn, barefoot, unarmed, smiling. He reached the first door through an abandoned drainage tunnel beneath the furnace chamber. The stone passage ended before a wall covered in faded family crests. Kael placed his palm against it. The archive opened. The wall ceased to be a wall. It became material structure. Pressure, age, weakness. He did not break the seal. Breaking it would alert the guards. He dismantled a single grain of stone. Then another, then another. A channel thinner than a needle formed inside the wall. Kael sent a wire through it. The wire touched the blood sensor hidden on the other side. His own blood flowed along the metal. The first seal recognized a Veyron descendant. The door opened without sound. Kael entered. He reconstructed the stone behind him. The second door stood beneath a ceiling painted with images of ancient patriarchs. Authority seals covered its surface. Only the patriarch and 7 elders could pass. Kael studied the symbols. He remembered them. In his previous life, he had repaired these seals after Cassian damaged them while stealing clan treasures. Kael had worked for several nights without sleep. The elders never thanked him. They ordered him to kneel outside the hall because his dirty clothes offended their ancestors. Now every line of the seal lay open before him. He touched the center. The archive analyzed the flow. Kael did not imitate authority. He dismantled the seal's understanding of authority. For one breath, the door forgot whom it served. Kael stepped through. Then he rebuilt the command. The final door waited below, black metal, no handle. No visible formation. A man's face had been carved into its center. The face opened its eyes when Kael approached. Name. The carved face sneered. Rank. Level 3. Its stone lips twisted. Purpose. To take everything. The face laughed. The passage trembled. You possess neither permission nor worth. Kael placed his hand over its mouth. The face tried to bite him. The archive entered the metal. Kael saw the secret. The final door did not recognize fear. It created fear. A soul fragment had been trapped inside the metal when the vault was forged. It searched the mind of every visitor. It found their deepest terror. Then it fed. The patriarch believed the door obeyed courage. The elders believed they had conquered their fear. They were wrong. The soul fragment allowed them to pass because their terror tasted familiar. Kael's mind opened before it. The door searched. It found the execution hall. The blade in his chest, his father's corpse. Selene crushing the pendant. Cassian drinking wine above his kneeling body. The soul fragment shuddered with delight. Then it looked deeper. It found nothing. No grief. No hesitation. Those memories no longer frightened Kael. They guided him. The fragment searched for another wound. It found the future Kael intended to create. Cassian crawling. Selene screaming, the elders tearing each other apart. Clan Veyron kneeling beneath a throne of black iron. The fragment recoiled. Kael smiled. You entered the wrong mind. The archive closed around it. The door screamed, its face twisted. Kael dismantled the soul fragment layer by layer. Not destroying it, understanding it. Pain became information. Hunger became structure. Fear became a tool. When he finished, the face lowered its eyes. Master, the final door opened. The clan vault stretched beneath the earth. Weapons rested on jade racks. Medicine filled crystal cabinets. Manuals lay behind sealed glass. Beast cores shone inside iron cages. Generations of wealth. Generations of blood. Everything the Veyron elders had hoarded while weaker branches starved. Kael walked between the treasures. He did not take them. Not yet. Missing objects created questions. Changed objects created confidence. He touched every weapon. The archive recorded them. He studied every pill, every formula, every formation plate, every beast core. Understanding accumulated inside him like an unseen empire. A spear forged from thunderstone. Recorded. A sword containing a sleeping wind spirit. Recorded. A body-strengthening medicine reserved for the patriarch's heirs. Recorded. A forbidden technique that burned lifespan for temporary power. Recorded. By the time sunlight touched the estate above, Kael knew the vault better than the men who guarded it. He chose only discarded fragments, dust from medicine cabinets, metal scraped from broken weapon racks, leaked energy from cracked beast cores, worthless remnants. He collected them in a cloth pouch. Then he approached the deepest cabinet. A dark seed floated inside a crystal sphere. No label. No clan seal. The elders did not know what it was. Kael did. The seed came from a corpse discovered beneath the northern mountains. In his previous life, Cassian tried to refine it. The seed devoured 3 alchemists. Kael spent months suppressing it. He eventually discovered that it was not a plant. It was a heart, a fragment of a dead world tree. It could consume any form of energy and grow according to the will of the first soul that bound it. Kael opened the cabinet. The seed trembled. Thin roots struck against the crystal sphere, hungry, violent. Kael pressed his forehead against the glass. The archive awakened. The seed attacked his mind. Images of endless forests flooded his vision. Roots strangled cities. Branches pierced clouds. Black fruit opened like mouths. Kael allowed the hunger to enter him. Then he showed it his own. The seed became still. 2 predators recognized each other. Kael dismantled the crystal sphere. The seed fell into his palm. Roots pierced his skin. Blood flowed. The pain was immediate, savage. The seed tried to enter his chest and consume his core. Kael seized it with the archive. You may eat. The roots paused. But only what I give you. He reconstructed the binding pattern around the seed. Not a chain, a contract. The dark roots spread across his wrist and vanished beneath his skin. A black mark appeared over his pulse. The world tree fragment had chosen him, or believed it had. Kael left the vault before the morning guards changed shifts. No alarm sounded. No treasure appeared missing. Only a layer of dust had vanished from several shelves. Only scraps had disappeared. Only the most dangerous object in the vault now lived beneath the skin of a level 3 trash. That afternoon, Kael returned to the furnace chamber. He placed the medicine dust, metal fragments, beast residue, and broken formation plates on the floor. The archive opened, the world tree seed stirred. Kael began reconstruction. Metal became pillars, beast energy became fuel, medicine residue became nutrient mist. Formation fragments became a network. The furnace chamber expanded. Stone moved without noise. Walls folded inward. Hidden rooms formed beneath hidden rooms. The first chamber strengthened the body. The second purified spirit energy. The third stored reconstructed weapons. The fourth became a medicinal garden. Kael cut his palm and allowed one drop of blood to fall into the soil. The world tree seed answered. Black roots spread through the chamber floor. They consumed rust, ash poison, rot. Everything useless became nourishment. A pale green shoot emerged from the stone. Then another. Within hours, the underground garden filled with herbs that normally required years to mature. Their leaves glowed. Their roots pulsed. Their fragrance thickened the air. Kael harvested them, reconstructed them, removed impurities, compressed their essence into pills. He swallowed the first. Heat exploded through his body. He entered the cultivation seat. The formation roared. His channels widened. His muscles thickened. His bones became dense. The gray light around his core did not change. The visible rank remained pathetic. Beneath the seal, power grew like a beast beneath thin ice. Kael trained until blood covered the seat. Then he stood and repaired his body with medicine. He repeated the cycle: pain, repair, pressure, pain again. His strength increased faster than any clan technique allowed. Not because his core was superior, because nothing was wasted. Every drop of medicine was purified. Every thread of spirit energy was recycled. Every injury became information. Every failure became a design improvement. Kael turned weakness into a machine. Within days, the furnace chamber no longer resembled a ruin. It became a hidden fortress. Black roots reinforced the walls. Formation lines covered the floors. Weapons rested behind false stone. Medicine grew beneath artificial moonlight. A narrow command seat rose at the center. Kael sat upon it in silence. Above him, Clan Veyron continued laughing. They believed he spent his days hiding after the awakening ceremony. They believed shame had broken him. They believed his surrender at the academy had proved his cowardice. Kael allowed the belief to spread. He stopped attending public meals. He wore the same patched clothes. He kept his shoulders bent. When servants mocked him, he moved aside. When disciples blocked his path, he apologized. When Darius demanded money, Kael handed over empty coins. Every insult became another layer of camouflage. Meanwhile, Lucan entered the Northern Academy. He bathed in the spirit pool Kael had surrendered. The water felt warm, rich, powerful. Lucan laughed as energy entered his body. He did not notice the pale thread crawling beneath his skin. The parasite settled beside his core. It began to drink. Darius continued using moonroot dust. His false rank impressed the instructors. They pushed him harder. His damaged membrane stretched. Small cracks formed. At night, he woke with blood beneath his fingernails. He told no one. Selene began training beside Cassian. She wore Kael's mother's pendant. The jade remained whole in this life, for now. She praised Cassian's talent. She laughed at Kael's weakness. She practiced the violet flame technique her family had purchased from a traveling merchant. Kael remembered that technique. Its final movement reversed the heart's rhythm. The merchant had altered it intentionally. He planned to blackmail the Arkwright family with the cure. In his previous life, Kael corrected the technique for Selene. This time he said nothing. Cassian spent every night studying the false map. He became obsessed with the northern inheritance. He bribed guards, gathered supplies, recruited loyal disciples. He believed secrecy protected him. Kael watched every preparation through the black roots beneath the estate. The world tree fragment spread silently. Thin roots entered walls. They listened to footsteps, tasted blood, carried whispers. Kael sat beneath the clan and heard everything. Secrets moved through the roots. Elder Orlan had hidden gold beneath his bed. Cassian's mother met a Western spy inside the old chapel. The patriarch suffered from a disease that weakened his right arm. Several branch leaders planned to challenge the elders after the royal trials. Kael gathered every weakness. He did not expose them. A secret revealed became noise. A secret stored became authority. The first person to discover Kael's fortress was not an elder. It was a girl named Mira. She belonged to a servant branch. No awakened core, no family protection. She cleaned the eastern training yard and slept beside the kitchen furnace. In Kael's previous life, Mira had brought him food when the clan denied him meals. Later, Cassian's men killed her because she witnessed them carrying poison into Aldrin's room. Kael found her outside the abandoned furnace passage. She was bleeding. 2 young disciples had beaten her for dropping a wine jar. Her left arm hung at an unnatural angle. She tried to crawl away when she saw him, young master. The title sounded absurd from her mouth. Kyle looked at her broken arm. Who did this? Mira lowered her eyes. I fell. Kyle almost smiled. Loyal even while bleeding, foolish, dangerous. Useful, he touched her shoulder. The archive analyzed the injury. The bone had split. Nerves were damaged. Internal bleeding had begun. Kael could repair her. He could also leave her. In his first life, kindness had become a leash. He would not repeat that error. Why did you bring me food? When? After the awakening. Her face reddened. It was only bread. You stole it from the kitchen. She became pale. Kael continued. You could have been whipped. Mira looked down. You had no grand speech, no claim of loyalty. A simple answer. Kael studied her for several breaths. Then he opened the hidden passage. Come. Mira stared into the darkness. Fear filled her face. She followed anyway. Inside the fortress, she stopped breathing. The garden glowed beneath artificial moonlight. Weapons floated inside formation circles. Black roots moved through the stone like veins. Kael placed her on a table. Do not scream. He reconstructed her arm. Bone shifted. Flesh closed, nerves reconnected. Mira bit through her lip but made no sound. When it ended, she moved her fingers, her eyes filled with tears. Kael handed her a black pill. This will awaken a core. She stared at him. That is impossible, then leave. Her fingers closed around the pill. She swallowed it. The world tree roots rose around her. Pain threw her from the table. She convulsed. Blood soaked her servant clothes. Kael watched without comfort. Awakening an artificial core required destruction. Her old body had to be dismantled in part. The archive guided the roots. They consumed blocked channels, rebuilt meridians, compressed spirit energy beside her heart. Hours passed. Mira stopped screaming. A faint light appeared beneath her skin. Not gray, not blue-black, the same color as the roots. She opened her eyes. The floor cracked beneath her hand. Kael placed a reconstructed dagger beside her. You owe me nothing. Mira stared at him. He continued. But betrayal will cost everything. She picked up the dagger, then knelt. Not because he demanded it, because she understood. Kael accepted her without ceremony. Mira became the first member of his hidden clan, not Veyron. Not a servant, something new. He trained her in silence. She learned to move through roots, to poison without scent, to carry messages beneath the estate, to identify lies by pulse and breath. She was not powerful yet, but she was invisible. Invisible people built empires before visible men realized a war had begun. More recruits followed, a blacksmith discarded after losing an eye, a kitchen boy with shattered fingers, a widowed guard whose pension had been stolen by Elder Orlan, a healer accused of treating poor branches without permission. Kael chose carefully. He did not collect the loyal. He collected the useful. He repaired their bodies, awakened hidden cores, gave them weapons created from clan trash. In return, they gave him eyes, hands, silence. The abandoned furnace became the heart of an underground dominion. Food accumulated, medicine multiplied. Weapons filled the walls. Gold appeared through controlled theft from corrupt accounts. Kael took nothing from the innocent. Not from morality, from efficiency. The desperate remembered loss. The corrupt hid it. His followers ate well, slept safely, trained beneath formations stronger than the inner academy possessed. For the first time in their lives, they held power. They looked at Kael as though he had opened heaven. Kael did not want worship. Worship blinded. He wanted obedience sharpened by benefit. Above, Cassian's faction celebrated. Lucan sent letters boasting of his rapid progress. Darius defeated weaker disciples using false strength. Celine's violet flames grew brighter while her heartbeat became less stable. Cassian gathered enough men for the northern expedition. They drank. They laughed. They spoke of inheritance. They spoke of glory. They spoke of Kael as a forgotten embarrassment. One night, Cassian stood before the ancestral hall and announced that he would bring back a treasure worthy of becoming clan heir. The elders applauded. Celine embraced him. Darius shouted his name. Kael watched through the roots beneath their feet. Behind him stood Mira and the first members of the hidden dominion. Black armor covered their bodies. Reconstructed weapons rested in their hands. Medicine gardens glowed across the fortress. Formation cores pulsed like captive stars. Kael sat upon the command seat. A cup of wine rested between his fingers. The wine had come from Cassian's private cellar. Mira waited. Should we stop the expedition? Kael tasted the wine. No. The prison beneath the mountains may open. That is why they must go. She lowered her head. Kael looked upward. Through stone, through roots. Toward the clan that believed itself untouchable. Cassian thought he was walking toward an inheritance. In truth, he was carrying the key to a sealed hunger. Lucan thought the spirit pool was making him stronger. The parasite had already wrapped itself around his core. Darius thought his rank was rising. His membrane was dazed from tearing. Celine thought her flames made her beautiful. Her heart had begun skipping beats. They were all feasting. They were all smiling. They did not know the table had been set with poison. Kael raised his cup. Let them enjoy the meal. The roots beneath Clan Veyron spread farther. The hidden fortress answered with a deep metallic pulse. An empire had been born beneath the feet of the strongest clan. And not one of its rulers knew they were already standing inside Kael's jaws. The northern mountains opened at midnight, not with thunder, not with fire, with a breath. A cold breath rolled through the valleys and turned every tree white. Birds fell from the sky. Beasts crawled from their caves and pressed their heads against the earth. Streams froze while still moving. The moon disappeared behind a ring of black clouds. Cassian stood before the sealed ruin with both hands raised. His golden core burned behind him. The lion phantom roared above his head. Around him, the finest young fighters of Clan Veyron held formation. Darius stood at the front. Celine remained beside Cassian. Elder Orlan had come personally, unwilling to let the younger generation claim the inheritance without his supervision. They had traveled in secret. They believed no rival clan knew. They believed the false map had led them to forgotten power. They believed heaven had chosen them. Cassian inserted the bronze key into the stone gate. The key Kael had prepared. The gate accepted it. Ancient symbols awakened. Black light spread through the mountain. Elder Orlan trembled with excitement. An imperial inheritance, Darius laughed. We will crush every clan in the region. Celine touched Cassian's arm. When you become patriarch, no one will dare look down on us. Cassian smiled. He turned the key. The seal broke. For a single breath, nothing happened. Then something screamed beneath the mountain. The sound did not enter through the ears. It entered through the bones. Several disciples collapsed. Blood poured from their eyes. The stone gate folded inward. A staircase descended into darkness. Cold air rose from below. It carried the smell of old graves. Cassian's smile faded. Elder Orlan lifted his cane. Do not lose composure. The mountain answered with another scream. This time the ground split. Black hands burst from the stone. Long fingers seized the nearest disciples. Their bodies vanished into the cracks. Only their screams remained. Darius swung his sword. Purple spirit energy covered the blade. He struck one of the hands. The sword shattered. The hand closed around his wrist. Darius screamed. Cassian attacked. Golden fire exploded from his palm. The hand released Darius and burned away. The clan fighters cheered. Their fear disappeared as quickly as it came. Cassian lifted his chin. Stay behind me. He stepped onto the staircase. Elder Orlan followed. Then Celine. Darius clutched his bruised wrist and forced himself after them. No one noticed the stone gate closing behind the final disciple. No one noticed the bronze key melting inside the lock. Far beneath Clan Veyron, Kael opened his eyes. The black roots beneath his fortress trembled. The world tree fragment tasted the disturbance across the earth. Mira stood beside the command seat. They opened it. Around him, members of the hidden dominion tightened their armor. The formation cores pulsed. Weapons lifted from the walls and flew into waiting hands. Above them, the clan estate remained quiet. Most believed Cassian had left for a routine training journey. The elders who remained had begun arguing over how to celebrate his return. Kael adjusted the cuff of his black coat. Wake the fortress. Mira struck her palm against the command pillar. The underground dominion came alive. Stone walls shifted. Roots pulled weapons from hidden chambers. Medicine furnaces opened. Armor locked around bodies. The abandoned furnace vanished behind layers of reinforced metal. Every corridor became part of a killing formation. Every servant passage became a supply route. Every route beneath the estate became an eye. Kael walked toward the upper gate. Do we march north? Mira asked. No, she hesitated. The prison is open, yes. Kael looked toward the ceiling. Because the prisoner is not hungry for Cassian. A horn sounded above the estate. Long, broken, terrified. The northern watchtower had seen something. Servants ran into the courtyards. Disciples rushed from their rooms. The remaining elders gathered near the ancestral hall. A second horn sounded, then stopped in the middle of its cry. The watchtower collapsed. Something moved beyond the outer wall. It was taller than the trees, thin as a corpse. Its body was covered in black chains. A broken crown had grown into its skull. Where its face should have been, there was only a vertical mouth. The mouth opened. The estate gates shattered. The first wave of dead creatures entered behind it. Men without skin, beasts with human hands, children made from stitched bones. They moved without formation, without fear, without sound. The outer guards charged. They lasted moments. The crowned creature lifted one arm. The chains around its body flew outward. A guard captain was torn apart before he finished shouting his command. Another chain pierced 3 disciples and dragged them across the courtyard. Panic spread. The clan formation masters activated the defensive barrier. Blue light covered the estate. The dead creatures struck it. Cracks appeared immediately. An elder screamed for more spirit stones. Servants carried boxes from the vault. The stones were placed into the formation. The barrier brightened. The crowned creature stepped forward. Its mouth opened wider. It swallowed the light. The entire barrier disappeared. Not shattered, consumed. The elders stared. No one spoke. Then the massacre began. Clan Veyron had ruled the region for generations. Its disciples had bullied weaker families. Its elders had demanded tribute. Its banners had made villages kneel. Now its strongest remaining fighters ran through their own courtyards like trapped animals. Doors closed. Families abandoned servants outside. Branch leaders sealed private rooms. Disciples pushed children beneath the dead creatures to buy time. The clan's pride vanished beneath the first spray of blood. Kael watched through the roots. He saw Elder Marin lock his wounded brother outside the medicine hall. He saw Lady Veyron order servants to form a wall before her carriage. He saw wealthy disciples fight over a single healing pill. He saw men who once spoke of honor crawl beneath tables. The crowned creature entered the ancestral courtyard. Its chains struck the awakening crystal. The crystal cracked. Gray, purple, golden. Every light the clan worshipped spilled out and died on the stone. A young disciple screamed, "That crystal holds the blessing of our ancestors." The creature turned toward him. Its mouth opened. The boy disappeared inside it. The remaining elders retreated into the ancestral hall. They sealed the doors. Outside, hundreds were left to die. Kael's father stood before the entrance. Aldrin's face was pale from poison. His body trembled. Yet he remained outside with the servants and weaker branches. He raised his sword. "Children behind me." The elders shouted from within the hall. Aldrin opened the door. He ignored them. "Open it." The crowned creature approached. Aldrin tightened his grip. The sword shook, not from fear, from weakness. Kael felt something cold move inside his chest. Not affection, not forgiveness. A debt. Aldrin had failed to protect him from the clan. But he had stood during the awakening ceremony. He had called Kael his son while everyone else called him trash. That debt would be paid. The crowned creature raised its chains. Aldrin stepped forward. The chains fell. Black roots burst from the courtyard. They formed a wall before him. The chains struck. The entire estate shook. The roots held. Silence spread through the courtyard. The dead creatures stopped. The surviving clan members stared. A metal gate rose from beneath the shattered training yard. Formation lines burned across it. Soldiers in black armor emerged. No clan crest marked their chests. No fear marked their faces. Mira walked at their front. She lifted one hand. The hidden dominion spread across the estate. Roots sealed broken walls. Weapon platforms rose from the ground. Healing mist filled the servant quarters. Black-armored fighters moved in perfect lines. The dead creatures charged. Mira lowered her hand. The fortress fired. Spears of reconstructed metal crossed the courtyard. They struck eyes. Hearts. Every shot found a weakness. Dead beasts fell in rows. Spirit wires wrapped around the skinless men. The wires tightened. Bodies came apart. The stitched children opened their mouths. Formation flames entered them. They burned from within. The servants stared at their rescuers. The branch families stared. The remaining elders watched through cracks in the ancestral doors. No one understood where this army had come from. Then Kael stepped through the gate. He wore black, no armor, no visible weapon. Gray light surrounded his core, weak, dull. Level 3, someone recognized him. A disciple pointed with a shaking hand. Kael? Disbelief became laughter. Not joyful laughter. The desperate laughter of minds refusing reality. Impossible, he is trash, he has no power. That army cannot belong to him. Kael walked past them. Every black-armored fighter lowered their head. Mira knelt. The command seat rose behind Kael from beneath the stone. Black roots shaped themselves into a throne. The clan fell silent. Aldrin stared at his son. Kael did not look at him yet. The crowned creature moved. Its chains swept across the courtyard. Kael lifted one hand. The chains stopped. not against a shield, inside his finger. He held them. The creature pulled. Stone broke beneath its feet. Kael did not move. The archive opened. The chain became information. Dead metal, soul-binding hunger. Ancient commands. Kael understood it. He dismantled the section in his hand. The chain turned to dust. The crowned creature screamed. Every dead beast in the estate fell to its knees. The clan members covered their ears. Blood leaked between their fingers. Kael continued walking. The creature opened its vertical mouth. Darkness gathered inside. The elders recognized the pressure. They began sobbing behind the doors. That thing will destroy the estate. Run. Use the servants. Find a tunnel. The crowned creature released the darkness. A beam swallowed the courtyard. Kael raised one finger. The beam struck him, then vanished. The archive consumed its structure. Kael reconstructed the energy above his palm. A black sphere appeared. Small, quiet. The crowned creature took a step backward. For the first time, it showed fear. Kael closed his hand. The sphere compressed. Then he flicked it forward. The attack crossed the courtyard without sound. It entered the creature's mouth. For one breath, nothing happened. Then cracks of white light spread across its body. Its chains fell. Its crown split. The creature collapsed inward, not exploding. Not burning, dismantling. Layer after layer disappeared. Bone became ash. Soul became silence. The strongest disaster Clan Veyron had ever witnessed died from one movement. Kael lowered his hand. The remaining dead creatures collapsed. The courtyard became still. Blood ran between the stones. Smoke drifted through broken walls. The awakening crystal lay shattered at Kael's feet. No one dared breathe loudly. Darius returned at sunrise. He came through the northern gate crawling. One arm hung useless. Half his face had been burned. His purple core flashed wildly beneath his skin. The membrane had torn. Every breath made him scream. Celine followed. Her violet flames moved without control. Her heartbeat failed between steps. She clutched her chest and stumbled. Elder Orlan had lost his cane. He leaned on a disciple whose lower body was missing. Cassian entered last. His golden robes were black with blood. The lion phantom behind him had changed. Its eyes were open. Its jaws were buried inside Cassian's shoulder. The ancient marrow had awakened. It was eating him. They had escaped the prison only because the crowned creature had abandoned the mountain and followed the scent of the world tree fragment toward Clan Veyron. They returned expecting shelter, medicine, praise. Instead, they found the estate transformed. Black roots covered the walls. Unknown soldiers guarded every gate. The dead creatures lay in pieces. The crowned prisoner was gone. Kael sat on the black throne before the ancestral hall. A cup of wine rested in his hand. Cassian stopped walking. Celine looked at Kael, then at the kneeling army. Her lips parted. No sound came. Darius stared until the pain in his core seemed forgotten. Elder Orlan collapsed. Kael drank slowly. The same wine Cassian had once raised above his dying body. A surviving disciple hurried toward Cassian. Young master. Cassian grabbed him. What happened? The disciple looked toward Kael. His face became pale. The monster attacked. Cassian's grip tightened. Who killed it? The disciple began to shake. Kael answered for him. Cassian stared, then laughed. A broken sound. You? Kael raised one finger. A black spear formed above Cassian's head. It descended. The point stopped against his forehead. Cassian's laugh died. A drop of blood ran between his eyes. The lion phantom whimpered. Celine fell to her knees. Not from choice. The pressure around Kael forced her down. Darius collapsed beside her. Elder Orlan pressed his face against the blood-soaked stones. The ancestral doors opened behind Kael. The elders crawled out. They had watched everything. Their robes were wet with sweat. Their faces carried no dignity. They looked at the level 3 trash they had stripped of resources. The boy they had removed from the academy. The child they had called a stain. He now sat above the fortress that had saved their lives. Above the army they had never known existed. Above power they could not understand. One elder began trembling so violently that his teeth struck together. Another urinated beneath his robes. A woman fainted without anyone catching her. Kael looked across the courtyard, at Cassian, at Celine, at Darius, at Orlan, at every face that had laughed during the awakening. The same people now lowered their eyes when his gaze passed over them. Mira stepped beside the throne. All threats have been eliminated. Kael turned the cup between his fingers. No, his voice was calm. The clan shuddered. The threats have only returned home. Cassian tried to stand. The spear pressed deeper into his forehead. Kael smiled, not proudly, not angrily. The smile was small, thin, familiar. Cassian saw it and remembered a moment that had never happened in this life. A dying man beneath a blade. a promise made with blood in his mouth. For reasons he could not understand, terror crushed his chest. Kael lifted the wine. Welcome back. The gates of the hidden fortress closed behind them. The fortress gates sealed with a sound like a coffin closing. Cassian flinched. Selene remained on her knees. Darius pressed both hands against his ruined core and tried not to scream. Elder Orlan crawled backward until his shoulders struck the ancestral steps. Around them, black-armored soldiers formed a circle. No one drew a weapon. They did not need to. The silence was sharper than steel. Kael sat upon the throne beneath the shattered clan banners. His gray core still glowed weakly. Padul, level 3. The sight made the terror worse. If that weak light was truly all he possessed, then the laws governing strength had become meaningless. If it was a disguise, then none of them had ever known him. Cassian forced himself upright. The black spear remained against his forehead. He tried to smile. It came out crooked. Kael, his voice trembled. He swallowed. Then tried again. Brother Kael lifted his cup. Do not call me that. Cassian's face tightened. A few hours earlier, he had marched toward the northern mountains as the future patriarch. Now dried blood covered his lips. The ancient lion phantom gnawed at his shoulder. Each bite made golden light leak from his body. He could feel his strength disappearing. He could feel his inheritance consuming him. He looked toward the elders. They avoided his eyes. The men who once praised him as heaven's chosen genius now lowered their heads and pretended not to know him. Cassian understood. He was no longer useful. That was how Clan Veyron loved. Selene lifted her face. Tears had washed clean paths through the ash on her cheeks. Her voice broke. I was wrong. Kael looked at her. She mistook his silence for permission. She crawled closer. Her violet flames flickered beneath her skin. Each pulse made her chest tighten. Her corrupted technique was tearing at her heart. I was confused. She pressed one hand against the ground. Another step. I never wanted to hurt you. Another. I only stood beside Cassian because I thought it would protect everyone. Kael watched her crawl through blood. In his previous life, she had stood above him in clean silk while he knelt with shattered hands. She had called him useless. She had told him that Cassian gave meaning to his life. Now her hair dragged across corpses. Her silk robes were torn. Her lips had turned blue from failing circulation. The difference pleased him less than he expected. Revenge was not fire. It was accounting. A debt became satisfying only when paid exactly. Selene reached the base of the throne. She raised both hands toward him. Please. Kael lowered his gaze to the jade pendant around her neck. His mother's pendant. Still unbroken in this life, Selene noticed. Hope flashed across her face. She tore the pendant free and held it out. I kept it safe. Her hands shook because I still treasure what we had. Kael extended one hand. The pendant flew into his palm. Selene smiled through tears. I knew you would remember. Kael studied the jade. The archive opened. The pendant became structure, memory, blood. A gift from a dying mother to her child. A promise passed into the hands of a woman who valued it only when survival required a symbol. Kael reconstructed the pendant. The scratches vanished. The broken clasp repaired itself. The jade shone with its original pale light. Selene stared at it. Kael, he closed his fingers. The pendant disappeared beneath his sleeve. You were never worthy to wear it. Her hope died. She reached for his robe. Mira stepped forward. The flat of her blade struck Selene's hand. Bones cracked. Selene screamed and collapsed. Kael did not look away. Selene clutched her fingers. You loved me. The words came out raw. You said you would protect me. Kael leaned back. I did, she sobbed. No, the answer was quiet, simple, final. Selene stared at him as though the word had pierced deeper than any blade. Kael continued. You once told me that weakness made love worthless. Her face went still. He had never heard those words in this life, yet he spoke them exactly as she had in the execution hall of the previous one. Selene began shaking. Kael's eyes remained cold. You said I should be grateful that Cassian used me. Her breathing became shallow. You said my life gained meaning only after he stole it. Selene crawled backward. The courtyard became silent. Cassian stared at Kael. Elder Orlan's mouth opened. Darius forgot his pain. Kael raised the cup to his lips. In another life you said many things. No one laughed. No one called him mad. They had seen too much. Selene covered her mouth. Her heart skipped, then skipped again. Violet fire burst from her chest. She screamed. The corrupted technique had reached its final stage. Flames spread through her veins. The same beauty she had worshipped now burned beneath her skin. She turned toward Kael. Save me, he drank. You already chose the man who gives meaning to your life. Her eyes moved toward Cassian. Cassian looked away. Selene stared at him. Cassian. He did not answer. She reached toward him. Help me. Cassian stepped back. The lion phantom tore another mouthful from his shoulder. He screamed and shoved it away. Celine's face twisted. You promised me. Cassian finally looked at her. Desperation stripped away his handsome mask. What do you expect me to do? Her mouth fell open. You said we would rule together. That was before this. Before fear. Before she became useless. Celine laughed once. A hollow sound. Then the violet flames reached her throat. Her laughter became screaming. She rolled across the stones. No one helped her. The Arkwright retainers hid behind broken pillars. The Veyron elders watched as though she were a stranger. Her hands clawed at the ground. Her fingernails came away. She dragged herself toward Kael again. Please. Kael looked down at her. The archive could have corrected her heart with a thought. He understood the technique. He understood every damaged vessel, every misfiring nerve, every flame consuming her. He did nothing. Celine's eyes met his. At last she understood he was not unable to save her. He had chosen not to. That knowledge broke what remained of her. The fire consumed her from within. Her body became still at the foot of the throne. The smell of burned silk drifted across the courtyard. Kael turned toward Darius. Darius tried to crawl away. His damaged core pulsed beneath his ribs. Purple light leaked through cracks in his skin. Each movement tore those cracks wider. Stand. Darius shook his head. I cannot. You stood easily when you came to beat me. Darius froze. Rainwater still clung to the memory. A broken servant house. A wooden club. A level 3 boy pretending to fear him. Darius pressed his forehead to the ground. I was young. Kael said nothing. I was foolish. Silence. I only followed Cassian. Cassian's face twisted. Coward. Darius turned on him instantly. You ordered it. You enjoyed it. You gave me the club. You laughed first. They stared at each other. Years of false brotherhood vanished in a breath. Darius pointed at Cassian. Cassian shouted. He wanted your academy place. He used the moon root. You supplied it. You told me it was safe. You begged for more. Their voices rose. Accusations spilled out. Stolen medicine. Bribed instructors. Threatened servants. False testimony. They tore open every secret they had once sworn to protect. Kael listened. The clan listened. No one seemed surprised. Corruption had never shocked Clan Veyron. Only exposure did. Darius crawled toward the throne. You can repair cores. His eyes shone with terror and greed. I saw what you built. He struck his chest with one fist. Repair mine. Kael looked at the purple light leaking from him. You called this strength. Darius sobbed. I was wrong. You called me trash. I was wrong. You said men like me should crawl. Darius lowered himself until his face pressed against Kael's boot. Then let me crawl. The courtyard held its breath. Darius wrapped both arms around Kael's leg. I will serve you. Kael looked. I have servants. I will fight for you. I have soldiers. I will kill Cassian. Cassian lunged. The spear at his forehead drove deeper and forced him back. Darius shouted quickly. I know his secrets. I know the Western contacts. I know where he hid the clan gold. Kael's expression did not change. Darius began weeping. What do you want? Kael finally answered. Nothing from you. The damaged core ruptured. Purple light exploded from Darius's chest. He screamed. His body arched. Spirit energy tore through his muscles and escaped through his skin. The strength he had stolen abandoned him violently. His arms shrank. His face collapsed inward. His hair turned white. He aged before the clan's eyes. Darius reached toward Kael one final time. Please. Kael moved his foot away. Darius fell face first onto the stone. He died staring at the ground where he had once forced others to kneel. Elder Orlan began praying. Not loudly. The words slipped from his lips in fragments. Kael turned toward him. The elder stopped. Orlan's dignity had disappeared. His ceremonial robes were torn. One foot was bare. Blood covered his beard. He pressed both palms together. Kael. His voice trembled. I was misled. Kael smiled faintly. By whom? Orlan pointed at Cassian. By him. Cassian laughed bitterly. Of course, Orlan continued quickly. He manipulated the council. He deceived us. He poisoned your father without our knowledge. Aldrin's face hardened. The surviving elders shifted uneasily. Kael looked at Orlan. Without your knowledge? Orlan nodded. Never. A black root rose from the stones. It wrapped around his wrist. The archive entered him. Memory opened. Kael saw the hidden meetings, the poison packets, the signatures, the promise of a council seat. The day Orlan watched a servant pour toxin into Aldrin's medicine. The night he approved Kael's removal from the family register. The moment he ordered guards to beat Kael outside the hall. Kael released his wrist. Orlan collapsed. You sold my father for a chair. The elder's lips shook. You already did. I was protecting the clan. You were protecting your seat. I served this family for decades. Kael looked toward the dead scattered across the courtyard. Orlan followed his gaze. Servants, guards, branch disciples, people the elders had locked outside. The old man began sobbing. We made mistakes. A mistake is taking the wrong road. Black roots rose around Orlan. Betrayal is building the road yourself. The roots wrapped around his arms, his legs, his throat. Orlan screamed. Mercy, Kael repeated the word as though testing its taste. Mercy, hope flickered across Orlan's face. Kael leaned forward. You once said mercy toward trash was an insult to the clan. Orlan's eyes widened. Another sentence from another life. Another blade returned to its owner. The roots pulled. Not quickly, the elder's joints separated one after another. His screams echoed through the estate. The remaining elders covered their faces. Kael made them watch. When Orlan finally fell silent, the roots lowered what remained of him beside the shattered awakening crystal. Cassian stood alone, the golden genius, the chosen heir, the future patriarch. Everyone else had either died, fled, or betrayed him. The lion phantom continued eating. Its jaws had reached his collarbone. Cassian sank to his knees. For a long moment he said nothing, then he began laughing. Kael watched. Cassian laughed until blood came from his mouth. You planned everything. Yes, the map. Yes, the prison. Yes. Cassian looked toward the hidden fortress, the army. Yes, the attack. Kael tilted his head. I did not create the prisoner. Cassian's laugh weakened. You only pointed it toward us. I pointed you toward it. Cassian lowered his head. His shoulders shook. I admire you. Kael almost smiled. Cassian lifted his face. Tears covered it. I was blind. He crawled forward. You were always the greatest genius. Another step. I should have stood beside you. Another. We are blurred. Hung in the air, blood. The clan's favorite chain, used whenever profit failed. Cassian reached the first step of the throne. We can still rule together. Kael looked at him. Cassian spoke faster. You need someone who understands the elders. Silence. I know the Western armies. Silence. I know the royal court. Silence. I can be useful. Kael rested his cheek against one hand. Cassian lowered himself completely. His forehead touched the stone. I will give you everything. Kael looked at the man who had once stood above his dying body. The wine, the applause, the blade, the stolen legacy, the shattered pendant, the promise that history would forget Kael had ever existed. Kael set down his cup. Cassian heard the sound and looked up. Kael spoke calmly. You already gave me everything. Cassian's eyes filled with hope. Your secrets. Hope weakened. Your reputation. His face paled. Your followers. His mouth opened. Your future. The lion phantom bit deeper. Cassian screamed. Kael stood from the throne. The entire fortress bowed. He descended one step at a time. Cassian tried to crawl away. The black spear pinned his hand to the ground. Kael stopped before him. Cassian stared up. For the first time, there was no arrogance in his face. No performance, no calculation, only terror. Kael crouched. He spoke softly enough that only Cassian could hear. In my first life, you asked why I was smiling. Cassian's breathing stopped. Kael's smile returned, small, thin. Cold, this is why. He placed 2 fingers against Cassian's forehead. The archive opened. Cassian's golden core became visible. The beast marrow, the stolen bloodline, the false brilliance, every layer, every weakness. Kael understood all of it. Cassian begged. No. Kael dismantled the lion's restraints. The ancient phantom roared. Its jaws opened fully. Cassian screamed as it turned upon the core that had imprisoned it. Golden light burst from his body. The lion consumed his strength, his memories, his pride, his name. Cassian clawed at Kael's sleeve. Brother Kael removed his hand. The lion swallowed Cassian's soul. His body collapsed. Empty, the golden core cracked, then went dark. No heroic final words. No legacy. The greatest genius of Clan Veyron died as a hollow shell before the man he had called trash. Morning light entered the ruined courtyard. The surviving clan members knelt. Not one remained standing. Aldrin approached the throne. He looked at Kael. Pride, fear, grief. All 3 fought across his face. You saved the clan. Kael turned toward the shattered banners. No. Black roots pulled them down. I replaced it. The old Veyron crest fell into the blood. Mira stepped forward carrying a new banner. Black cloth. A silver tree without leaves. Its roots formed a crown. She raised it above the ancestral hall. The hidden dominion emerged fully. Servants removed their chains. Discarded fighters took command of the gates. Healers entered the wounded quarters. Corrupt elders were dragged from hiding. The vault opened. Medicine once hoarded for the powerful went to those who had defended the estate. Food once reserved for banquets filled the servant halls. The strongest clan in the region did not fall that morning. It changed owners. Kael returned to the throne. He poured another cup of wine. Below him lay Cassians, Selene, Orlan. The people who had believed weakness gave them permission to be cruel. The people who had mistaken his silence for surrender. The people who had called him trash because they could not see the blade hidden beneath his smile. Kael raised the cup toward their bodies. There was no triumph in his eyes, only completion. Fate does not punish the wicked, he drank. Someone must understand them well enough to do it properly. The new banner moved above him. The black roots spread beyond the estate walls, toward the capital, toward the Western armies, toward every throne built by men who believed power made them untouchable. Kael sat above the strongest clan, still hiding his true core, still holding greater gates within the infinite Dominion archive, still smiling as the world prepared to underestimate him again.